this was not the vibe, you know? Hi friends, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be telling you all about the worst and most disappointing books that I read in 2021. Really overall, the entire year was disappointing. I had very few highlights from the year, very few new favorites from the year. A lot of the books I was picking up were just very forgetful and lackluster and meh. Most of the books could have ended up on this list. I actually had to take some of them off because I was like, they're not necessarily the worst books or the most disappointing. I just didn't enjoy them, but they don't really fit the qualifications of this video. Let's just go ahead and start with the worst, shall we? So my actual worst book of 2021 was hands down Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I actually knew going into this it was not going to be a good experience for me. I've read quite a few of her books in the past, and I always had the same complaints. They're very wordy, they're very bogged down, they're very passive. There's not a lot of action or momentum or like forward movement or urgency in any of her books. They just feel, for what the characters are doing, they feel so slow. Like, she writes high action books and they never feel high action. Like, I actually am bored while reading action scenes because I don't think she writes them well. I read The Darkest Minds and I read both books in the Passenger duology, and I've experienced this with all of them. This was a book pick for last year for book club. That's why I read it. I didn't like read this on my own. I would never have picked this up on my own, but book club wanted to read it, so I agreed. And I got through, I think, to the 5th part of this book. I was like 90 pages from the end, and I did not care. Like, I was in the height of the battle scene, and I was like, I don't fucking care about anything that's happening. The characters, the world, the stakes, like, I don't care. So I tapped out, and I didn't finish this. But I feel that I read enough of it to review it for you and tell you that I absolutely loathed this book. I just don't think her books are for me. I know that they're not for me, and I won't be reading any more of them. And I think the rest of the books on this list were just disappointing. I went into them with like high expectations, or you know, above average expectations, and I was let down. And the first of those was Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. Oh, there are 2 Tessa Baileys on this list. Wow! This is the 3rd book in the Hot and Hammered series. I really enjoyed the first 2. I think both Fixer Up and Lover or Loser were on my favorite books of the year I read them. And this one really just did not do it for me. I think that that's more like a me thing than the book thing, because it's not that this book is any different than the other 2. There's still a lot of like baby talk and like infantilizing of a character. There's a lot of dirty talk by the male character. The male character is still very aggressive in bed, and none of that bothered me in the other books, but I am in a different place than I was when I read the other 2 books. I think that that is what it was for me. I did not appreciate the way this character continued to point out how much older she was than him, and it wasn't even a huge age gap. It was like 5 to 7 years, and he was like, oh my god, you're 30? You're like basically in the ground. And I'm like, shut up. This 23-year-old Southern country boy, which is another thing, like, I just, no thank you. That, coupled with like everything else, I was like, nope, 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 nope. Didn't like the way he spoke to her, didn't like the way he talked down to her, didn't like his whole country western cowboy hat charm, didn't buy it for a second, didn't like the dirty talk, didn't like how much, just did not like. This was definitely a disappointment for me. I think if I had read this 2 years ago, when I read the other 2, I would have been fine. I've changed. The book is not for me anymore. Speaking of Tessa Bailey, let's just talk about window shopping as well. This is a book we read for book club. It was our like Christmas holiday romance book. And this book was trying to do too many things. It was trying to comment on too many things, and it's this big. We simultaneously had a lot happening and nothing happening because she couldn't actually take any of those things that she was talking about anywhere because there wasn't time. Like, you can't talk about ex-convicts and the pandemic and, I don't know, like mental health challenges all in one book that's barely 200 pages long. Like, no. It just needed to be a sexy Christmas romance. We just needed like a lot of like sex time, throw in some festivities, and it would have been better. And it just really annoyed me that this book was set in 2021. She actively mentions several times that it's 2021, but then the characters are not behaving like they're still in 2021. Like they're going shopping, they're going out on, like they're just, it made me upset. It made me upset. We could have just existed in a timeless Christmas of which the year did not need to be named, and it was just festive. But instead it was like beating you over the head, reminding you what year it was, and I was like, stop telling me what year it is. And the Christmas festivities, so few and far between. The window dresser, and she's like making festive windows for the store, for their displays, and then there's like some talk about his office being decorated, but I wanted more Christmas for a book that is supposed to be Christmas, although the front cover with this like Easter green and pink doesn't scream Christmas to me. That was also disappointing. Another disappointing romance that seems to be a common theme for 2021 was Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. This one I kind of knew going into it to not have super high expectations because I really did not enjoy 99% Mine, and I just wasn't confident that we were going to get the lightning in a bottle of the hating game again. It really feels like that was like a one-off fantastic book for me from her, and the rest are going to be like this mediocre meh situation. I did not love the main characters' dynamics together at all. So our main character, I can't remember, oh no, her name is Ruth because it was like an old lady's name, and she lives with the old ladies in a retirement community. And she bumps into a stranger at a gas station, and then that stranger ends up being the son of this company CEO that's trying to take her job away. Like he comes in and tries to buy the land and wants to like convert the senior living homes into something else. And so she's forced to work with this guy that she met at this gas station. They had like a really cute friendship, but he constantly tells her that he is going to leave her. Like, I don't stick around, I don't stay in relationships, I don't have long-term commitments, that's not me. I want to be a tattoo artist and I'm gonna leave you. She meets his family. They tell her, he's gonna leave you. Sisters, he's gonna leave you. Friends, he's gonna leave you. Her, I bet I can get him to stay. Huh? She's a very naive character who is very invested in helping him become a better person. He's sent there by his father to work, and she's managing his work, and she wants to help him. And then she's falling for him, and again, she wants to help him. Everybody is telling her that he takes advantage of people, and she's like, no, we have a connection. And lo and behold, she's very upset when he leaves. At that point, was so mad at the book and everything that was happening. Enough people in the world believe that if you just care enough, somebody else will change. And then the fact that this book like reinforces that idea when it's not true, like pissed me off, and I was not having a fun time. I did like all the turtles, save the turtles. There's also like a weird mystery going on behind the scenes. Didn't enjoy this. Sally Thorne might not be an author I read from again. And the last book on my list here is The Project by Courtney Summers. I read this because of Sadie, and I know that a lot of people really, really loved Sadie, like 5 stars, favorite book of all time kind of love, and I enjoyed Sadie. It was a fun time. I did not love it because I think that YA murder mystery is a hard genre for me to enjoy because I really want it to do the things that adult does, but it can't because it's YA. And that's kind of what happened with this one again, is that I wanted it to do the things that like a cult novel for adults would do, but this couldn't because again, it's YA. We're following our main character whose sister several years ago goes missing. And it's very likely that she was absorbed into a cult, convinced to join a cult, what have you. And our main character really wants to prove she's still alive and save her. So she's a journalist and she starts to investigate this cult and try to figure out what happened to her sister. And then over the course of the book, she starts to fall deeper into this cult as she learns more. And it's a very interesting story that like talks about how people can be so easily swayed by cults and can succumb to the cult even when they know that it's bad. It wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be. Like when you say a cult book, I'm like, yes, tell me more. But I feel like real life cults are more interesting than anything that you read about in fiction. I don't know if it's like the fear of this thing is actually real and like the real life version of it is also so scary that the book version doesn't ever like touch that fear, that I'm just not ever impressed by cult books. So this was very meh for me. The ending was very meh for me. Everything about this was very meh for me. I probably won't ever think about this book again after talking about it now. I was hoping that this would be a little bit more than it was, and it was a little lackluster in my opinion. So that is it. Those are all of the worst books that I read in 2021. The list could be a lot longer. The books were not good. The reading was not good. The video making was not good. Thank you guys for watching. Please tell me what your least favorite books of the year were down below so that I can avoid the bad books this year. I'm trying really hard to only pick up the books that I've had on my list and not get distracted by the other things that I see on my library's app. We're gonna try to stay focused on the list. If you want to come and hang out with me anywhere else on the internet, my Instagram and Twitter handles are on the screen now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I will see you very soon.